Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have our annual meeting, our monthly meeting right now. And our first order of business is to approve the minutes here. We have several minutes from the meetings of June 20, July 12th, August 8th, September the 26th, October 5th, and October 12th, 2011. What is your pleasure, folks?
You want one motion for all of them, or would you prefer?
Well, I was going to say I was not at this last meeting on October the 12th, so why don't we do this? If you have no objections, we will do up until this October 12th, and we'll come back and do that in just a second.
Okay, and I would move that we accept as presented minutes from the meetings of June 20, July 12, August 8, September 26th, and October 5th, 2011.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The meeting that we had on October the 12th, I apologize, but I was not at that particular meeting. Actually, you stepped in, and so...
That doesn't mean I can't make a motion on
You
this.
sure can.
No, okay.
You can do it.
And I would move that we accept as presented the minutes from the special meeting of October 12, 2011.
Second.
October 12th.
Well, what did I say?
11.
October 12th.
We got it.
12th.
Is there a second?
Tom.
Tom, second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstain, I would be an abstain on that because I was not here. So,
Good. Thank you.
very good, and thank you, folks. Now, as far as residents or citizens' participation, we have a small crowd, but we're here. Yolanda's here. You're all welcome, as always.
Thank you. I have two things. My big thing is to thank Brattleboro Housing Authority. I can't thank Chris and their entire staff for this entire thing with Irene, how they handled it. They came, they kept us up to date. I was apprehensive. Chris actually was the one that came to my house, and I was scared because of my dog. I wanted to be able to take my dog, but before, during, after, and still to this day, Housing Authority needs to be commended for the job they've done. I need you guys to know that. They have been tremendous, really great. So I really needed to say that tonight. I'm sure you people already know that, but you guys were excellent, and you still are excellent. And people here at Hayes Court, if that brook did not break the way it did, that would have been here at Hayes Court, what happened in Melrose.
You're right.
And my heart breaks for those people down there. And anything that I can do personally, Chris, I will do it.
Thank you.
And I can't thank you enough. Chris, you know you came to my house, and I was scared, and I was like, what about my dog? And I mean, I was out of here. I went to a motel. I didn't go to the shelter because she's afraid of big dogs. But I can't tell you people how much you guys are well organized. This is why you are Brattleboro Housing, because you do what you do best. And you deserve the best award in the entire, seriously, the town. And this is coming from me. But seriously, you guys are so well organized, and I can't thank you enough. You took care of me, you took care of my neighbors, and you're still continuing to do that. So thank you from me on that.
Aside from Chris, the other staff member here, nobody at the table really deserves the thanks and praise, but I'm sure that Chris will pass it on to the staff.
And I actually have tried to do that.
Yeah, well, I said the two of you.
It will be passed on. Thank you very much. And I know you called in.
Well, thank you, Rhonda, for those fine, kind words. You know, it's been a very, very tough time for everybody, and it's nice to hear it.
Yep, it's a hard time.
And you had another item?
I did. I am asking the board to look into passing an anti-bully law. Bullying is very huge, and it does happen here at Hayes Court. And I'd like you guys to really, if you possibly could, look into an anti-bully law. I think I spoke about it several meetings back, but if we could do that.
It's kind of an interesting concept, because you usually don't think of bullying among adults, and it happens.
This is actually anti-bullying month. There's actually a special campaign going on. Seriously, there's a very big campaign going on about it this month.
It does happen here at Hayes Court. I'm not going to mention, I know Chris is well aware what I'm talking about. It can be very distressful. Me, myself, I have to take my dog out, and there's 2 or 3 tenants here in particular. Like I said, Chris, I know you know what I'm talking about. It's very upsetting. And this dog's my life, and I have to take her out. I'm not somebody that's going to leave my dog and put weedy pads down. She has to go outside. And I try to do the things for the community. I resigned as president because of the bullying going on here. But I'm still doing the lunch program and still doing whatever I can. And even Chris Housing knows, they can call and say, yep, Rhonda, do it. But it can be very distressful here. And I really get shaken up. I take things to heart. I try to be a tough cookie, but sometimes it's hard.
Well, we can look into it. I'm not sure, how that would work, but we can certainly look into it. Yep.
Yes?
Yes, my name is Nick Stone. I live in building 43. I was here for one of the other meetings. I agree with Rhonda. There is a lot of bullying going on here. One time I stood up for her, and I said to the person, stop talking about her. The next day the police are here saying I threatened her with a gun. And 2 of her friends were like, yeah, it's the same individuals that I'm talking about that Chris knows. It's the same individuals. And I went straight to the police officer. I said, listen. He said to me, how come they didn't call yesterday if it was yesterday? I said, this was yesterday that this happened. And he said to me, why are they calling today? I said, because they're trying to have you arrest me in front of the whole meeting on a Wednesday. And it's at 2 o'clock because they called the police and they said, make sure that the cop's here at 2 o'clock. So it was a whole setup thing that they put together. And I agree with Rhonda. Rhonda's like my best friend. And I talk to her every day on a daily basis. And it's still got her by the throat, you could say. And I feel for her. I really do. That's why she did resign the presidency. And if I was her, I wouldn't want anything to do with it either. But, there are people here that are not very nice. And if you guys could look into something like that or talk to the individuals and let them know that they cannot be doing stuff like that, it would be greatly appreciated. And I also want to say that Brattleboro housing has saved my life. And I think you guys were here. Remember my mom and my dad, they were at that one meeting?
Yes.
And I appreciate Brattleboro housing too. From the bottom of my heart, they've saved my life. They've given me time away from Brattleboro, and I pray to God they never tear this place down, but they probably will anyway. But I just want to thank all the board members for taking the time out of their busy schedules to come here and do this. And also the interpreters and Chris and Tom, everybody. Because it's trying to help us, but you could see how the people here really care, right? Only 2 of us show up. What does that tell you? Thank you very much.
The Hayes Court project on hold.
Well, that's a good thing.
But I think but thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And we will continue to talk to the individuals that we know are exhibiting this kind of behavior on a regular basis.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for calling it to our attention. You know, this is the only way that we would know is you folks. We will definitely look into that.
Yep.
And one more thing. Sorry, Nick, and I'm doing it. I'm on my hands and knees begging, take this place down. I can't wait to get out of Hayes Court.
Unfortunately, as Chris said, we're on a different time schedule than we were the last time we met.
Mary, you want a still made of that? What's that? I want a still of that.
Oh, okay.
I'll do it again for you. No, that project is very well needed, and we all know that. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to leaving Hayes Court. And I know you're on hold right now on that project, Chris, for a few months, but let's get that going as soon as we can. That's well needed here. In the town of Brattleboro, huh, Peanut? Wave to the camera.
Well, thank you.
Well, Rhonda, as you have just alluded to, is we have put this on the back burner. You know, we have got other fish to fry right at this moment, and but it will be brought back up again. Okay, we're getting on to our regular business, our staff reports, the asset manager, the energy program update.
I just wanted to tell you that we were days away from getting the energy program approved and released from HUD, and we had to call them and tell them that because of the events over at Melrose, they had to take that development out of the energy program. So they have to rework the whole thing, and it's back being reworked. It may not be as bad as, in my opinion, because Melrose really had a fairly small part, but we couldn't have it approved with Melrose, and so they're going to be working it through and letting me know this week.
Does that mean that Melrose is now out of that particular project forever?
Well, yes, yeah.
So if things turn around, we can't go back and do add.
Well, one of the issues that I'm very concerned about is that under the HUD environmental review criteria, properties that are in the floodway or the floodway fringe cannot have more than 50% improvements over, or 30% of improvements over a 5-year period. So given all the work that we've done on Melrose, I'm not even sure I can paint the buildings this year, for instance. So it's going to be a little tricky, and I didn't want to get us locked into a 20-year energy project that was based on Melrose, and then find out that Melrose had to be taken out. So it seemed like a better idea to take it out now. And it really, we didn't have that much in there for work in Melrose. So it leaves the big, most of the work was to be done in the high rise and at Moore Court and Ledgewood, and that's still moving. So. And then this property was not in it, and we would not fold this property back in at this time, it'd just be too much.
Well, that's another little fly in the ointment, as the expression goes, you know.
Yeah, that disaster is just a gift that doesn't stop giving.
That is true. Love it. Melrose Repairs, meeting of 10/27 and November 4th. Are they pretty self-explanatory?
Yes, and the meeting is Thursday. I will get a confirmation and email you, and I might get a confirmation on that.
Who is that meeting with?
That's a meeting with HUD and
Okay.
maybe some state people
Okay.
to talk about Melrose.
That meeting that someone.
Yeah, it's actually being convened by the HUD director for Vermont. The meeting on November 4th is at noon. It's a very short meeting to, I hope, You will agree to ratify changes to the public housing administrative policy in the Section 8 administrative policies to give preferences in both those programs to people that are either unhoused or needing temporary housing as a result of the flood. And then our new meeting, November 7th, it was warned in the newspaper. What time is it, Mary? Is it?
I think it's at 7.
At 7, I think it starts. And we're the second item on the agenda. That's in front of the Development Review Board, and that is the appeal of the 5 buildings that the town has determined have substantial damage, and therefore we cannot do more work on them as they are. The ones that are in the fringe would have to be raised up 3 feet, and the ones that are actually in the floodway, of which there are 3, would just have to be stopped and shuttered.
I've got an agenda in the mail from the Planning Commission. I guess after that meeting, they're sending that out, and just for the heck of it, I read it to see if there was anything in there. And apparently, the Planning Committee is also meeting with the DRB, and they're going to be at that meeting on the 7th.
They are. I saw
Yeah.
they're having, I don't know what that meeting is about.
Yeah.
I can't quite
So we might get the whole...
figure out what it is, so, yeah.
Do we know what time the meeting on the 27th is?
9 to 11.
And would it be here? Would it
It'll be at Mel's. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Property manager, the updates, general updates. Hayes, the association disbanded, and new election is pending for November. Excuse me. Currently working on their annual, for the annual meeting. Ledgewood, anything, recycling areas. Great. And West Terrace.
I'm actually just reading this again, that Moore Court resident is the one that's taking care of the recycling area at Ledgewood, which is interesting. Good, but interesting.
Some people are more zealous than
Exactly.
others.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I said some people are more zealous than others.
No, I mean, what
It says here, the new recycling area looks great. This is at Ledgewood and is being kept organized by a volunteer resident from Moore Court.
Could be.
Does anybody have any questions on the monthly updates for August?
Busy, busy, busy.
Yeah. Okay. Resident Service Coordinator, finally adopt for the summer food program funding in the town of Brattleboro. Human Service Committee.
I move that we formally adopt the application.
Is there a second?
Tom.
Tom is motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I would just like to draw your attention to the Resident Services Coordinator's report. I'm particularly interested in the write-up from the Department of Education. Just would note that we served 25,802 meals this summer in 8 weeks. We have we are the third largest sponsor of lunches, and we are the second largest number of sites that any sponsor has in all of Vermont. And I just loved it. She said, Michelle, I don't know what Brattleboro would do without your summer food program. You are providing a huge number of meals to kids who might not otherwise have this nutrition in the summer. You are a strong partner, and I have great confidence in your administration of and mission with the summer food program. And I just want to commend Michelle for the really great job she does, and all of the volunteers and others that help with this program. It's incredibly important that we have this program in town, and I just think it's a real compliment to her.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing that with us. That's, that program is really, really taking off.
Yeah, I mean, when we started, it was,
Be the largest, third largest in the state?
yeah,
That is really a lot. That's
the
great.
second highest number of sites. So
Yeah.
it's a lot, I think, how large some of these cities are.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. We have family self-sufficiency program.
Yes, I just wanted to bring to your attention that we got a renewal grant for the public housing family self-sufficiency for, I'll get it right, 2011. And there will be a notice of funding availability coming out soon for the 2012 Section 8 family self-sufficiency. I was quite concerned because we have a 2010 one, but it started in July of 2011. So it was, I was like, well, what are we doing in 2011? But I've now talked to people at the Grant Center in Washington, and they've assured me that provided we have the numbers that we should, and we can't apply if we don't, then our 2012 grant would be made retroactive to July 1 of 2012, when we'll need a new grant. So even if we don't have it before then, we get it later, they'll make it retroactive to when this year's grant ends. So it's a 5-year program. What concerned me was we're going to lose our funding after year 1, and we've made commitments to people for a 5-year program. But HUD said, no, we understand. There were other housing authorities in the same situation, and that's how it will go. So I just wanted to bring to your attention there. We're waiting for the notifications of funding to come out. Our grant writer is ready to go, and it looks like we'll have just continuation funding.
Point of interest, who was our grant writer?
We have a grant writer named Ian Tink, and he is from the Boston area.
Oh.
He was recommended by another housing authority director, and he's really quite good, and we actually solicited other bids, and he was very competitive. And we've been very pleased with his work. I mean, he's very good.
Sound good. Okay. Section 8, Shelter Plus Care and Pathways. Adopt Chapter 16, New Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Policy.
So we sent to you Chapter 16, which is almost exactly the same as the one in the Public Housing Administrative Policy. Both of these chapters are pretty well defined by what's called the Mansur decision, which was the class action suit against the Housing Authority prior to my coming here, that spelled out appeals and grievances and how we have to make them. So we we're interested in getting this adopted tonight so that we can make sure that the whole policy needs to be adopted. They've finished writing it, but this was of most interest and concern to us, and we were hoping we could get this one adopted tonight. I put at your table all the other chapters. They're done and ready. We hope you will adopt them on November 21st at your next meeting.
For the annual meeting.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I have 2 questions on here. The first one is on page 1610. It's on a lot of other pages, but it's the decision of the hearing officer shall be binding on BHA. This is at the end of the process. Yada yada, unless the board of directors, the commissioners determine within 30 calendar days. And the first one, the grievance does not concern BHA action or failure to act in accordance with BHA regulations which adversely affect the applicant's right, duties, welfare, or
I'm
status.
sorry. Can you, just breathe, and it'll give you time to catch up.
Okay.
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 Don't worry about going to
Page
get
is,
1610.
1610 is what I got.
I don't understand that. I've read that about 12 times and I don't get it.
Are you going to repeat it?
Oh, you want me to-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not going to read it. I need you to
All
say
right.
it.
The grievance does not concern BHA action or failure to act in accordance with BHA regulations which adversely affect the applicant's rights, duties, welfare, or status. I mean, the way I looked at it, if the grievance doesn't concern BHA, why would it go through the whole hearing process? Wouldn't that get stopped at the beginning?
No,
Okay.
somebody, and we've had, we haven't had this situation come up, but we have had situations where people are grieving. I'll give you a good example. There's a prohibition in the federal law for Section 8 against admitting lifetime sex offenders. So a lifetime sex offender appeals, we deny that person. That person has the right to appeal. And they appeal, and the hearing officer says, oh, I think you should be allowed in. Well, the fact of the matter is, that's a HUD policy. You cannot do that, hearing officer. This person is entitled to the right to appeal, but in the appeal, we make the statement and give the law and say, this is simply the law.
Okay.
And in the first case, I think that's, again, that would be a fair housing issue, and it would be another issue where somebody was exercising their right to bring a grievance, but the actual reason for the grievance was not a BHA failure to act or to act in accordance with BHA regulations. So it had some other grounds, was really nothing that one should be able to grieve, but because this language is all part of the Mansur decision and it was not written very well, so we end up with these things that allow people to grieve even though the things they're grieving have absolutely no material basis on which to be brought forward, but they can.
Okay.
So occasionally people do. And we have to take them through the process. And then this would be the section that we would bring to the hearing officer and say, oh, by the way, we think this section applies, and that's why you should find in favor of BHA.
Okay.
Because this is a federal law, this is a person is documented, had a methamphetamine trailer that they raided and, blah, 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 and it's all documented, and, here's the law, we can't take this person.
Okay.
So that's
Now it makes sense.
where we get it. Yeah, it doesn't make sense when you read it.
When you read it, it was not. I kept reading it.
Yeah.
I just was able to pick up my mail today because I've not been in town. And this has been with me every place I went today. It's 5 minutes, I read some more of it.
Well, even so, it doesn't make sense, but it does.
And then I have one other question.
Yeah.
On page 1619, regarding provisions for non-citizens.
Yes.
Now, if someone is an illegal alien, we would still have to go, and they applied and we turned them. I mean, how does that come into play here? If someone was in the country illegally and applied?
Let me just take a quick look at this. If we have somebody that cannot prove that they are a U.S. citizen, then these would apply to them.
Okay.
And this is the process that we would have to use in order for them to, if they don't have documentation to show us that they are a citizen, and we determine based on that they are not a citizen, then this is the process that they would have to go through in order to change that determination.
Okay. Okay.
And this whole section on the informal hearing and the formal hearings with regard to non-citizens is really very prescribed by HUD. This is pretty much what HUD says you have to do.
Okay.
This is where they say you have to do it.
Otherwise, it's really well written.
Oh,
very good.
Especially since the USCIS has to get involved.
Yeah.
Right,
United
exactly,
States
yeah.
Citizenship and Immigration Service.
Yeah.
And they really do have to give us those documents. We have had these issues before. People really do have to produce this documentation. And they usually don't appeal if they can't.
Mhm.
May I,
Yes.
one thing, page 16-13,
Yes.
second paragraph from the bottom, request for a formal hearing, the first line should read, a request for formal hearing must be made within 20 calendar days of the postmark. Days is missing.
She did that on purpose to see if you were really.
I was just going to say.
You have to have one of those proof
That's a pretty quick catch there.
Good.
Jeez.
Mary
It
didn't
didn't
get that.
read right.
How did you miss that, Mary?
I didn't read it.
Thank you.
I was afraid I'd say you
Yeah.
I mean, from the, you take the whole document and it's obvious, but some lawyer might,
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't get him very far as I'm concerned, but
But you never know.
Okay.
Well, we've got to adopt, we need to have a motion here.
I'll make a motion to adopt Chapter 16, grievances and appeals.
With the one change.
With the
As
change, with the
corrected.
one change, it's corrected.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then, as I said, all the other chapters which are at your desk, we will ask you to adopt them at the annual meeting. Unlike the public housing policy, these do not get distributed. We do not, they don't have to be out for 2 months for public comment and all of that.
Okay. I've also got my section 8. Is there anything on section 8 that before we skim over that? Anything we have to?
Oh, yes, there is. Thank you. Under section 8, it says there's an attachment, but there is not. We received the Vermont State Housing Authority Section 8 utility allowances for 2012. Usually, all the housing authorities try to stay within those. And they do all of the statistical analysis that is required in order to set them, so people generally just try to stay within theirs. HUD requires us to revise any utility allowance that is increased above 10% or more since the last time utility allowance schedule was revised. Apparently, in the 2012 Section 8 utility allowances proposed, oil heat and oil hot water have gone up over the 10%. And so we would ask, and I apologize because I thought I had this either sent to you or in here to give you, but we would ask that you keep all the other utility allowances as they are currently and allow the increase to the oil heat and oil hot water as set by the Vermont State Housing Authority's utility allowance for 2012. Is that clear as mud?
I'll say so moved,
Okay.
and you can word it appropriately.
Yeah,
I'll second.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded.
thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would point out that I believe last year and the year before, there were either very small or no increases in the oil-based heat and hot water, and that was a concern to us. So this is sort of making up for a couple of years of not increasing
I
those.
think I remember that.
Yeah, as much as we should have, or they should have been, but again, we don't want to get ahead of, we don't want to get out of line with Vermont State because they do the analysis.
Right.
Can I just mention how happy I am to see this, that we've been approved for this SAMHSA grant? That
Yes.
is fantastic, and maybe you can say a little bit more what it's for and everything, so.
Well, this grant, unfortunately, is called Pathways to Housing, which we're very happy about because we have Pathways to Housing. But it is a program that will be run with the Community Mental Health Service and the Agency of Human Services to make housing funding and wraparound services available. This is to the group of folks that are the most challenging homeless. As you know, our Pathways to Housing program is a 2-year transitional program. It's for people that have some barriers, but not extensive or really ones that take a lot of work. And this grant is for those folks. So this is for the folks that really have some fairly big challenges to getting housing and staying housed. We agreed to be the housing administrator for this, and the grant was put in by the Agency of Human Services. It'll be coordinated here by the Agency of Human Services. We'll be a party, the drop-in center in Morningside, and probably some other human service providers. The one wrinkle in the grant is that it's up to the state of Vermont's Agency of Human Services to come up with the housing dollars. And we're starting to hear some words from up north that say they may not be able to come up with that money because of Irene, because they're using any and all funds that they have available for supportive services and housing for people that were affected by the disaster, the hurricane. So we'll see.
And that grant is for how much? They're talking about $80,000.
Well, this is 80,000. That's really to pay.
That's our,
That's our
that's our
pathway.
regular.
Yeah.
That's our pathway. So
Right.
this grant, there is money in here for the service providers, but what's not in there is the state housing dollars and then the housing administration dollars, which we had told the state we would need to have. So they need to come up with the money for the housing subsidy, the state housing, the Agency of Human Services does. So it's great that and they're working on sort of putting all the people, all the partnerships together and where they'll get the money. And it'll be interesting. It'll be, challenging work, I'm sure.
Actually, maybe we should throw in how many homeless people lost their camps during the flooding.
Yeah.
also, that are, have been affected by flood victims also.
That's a good point.
That point is
Really
really
good point.
yeah. Well, just to remind everybody, that our annual meeting will be November 21st, 2011, and that will be down at Hayes Court. At Melrose. I'm sorry, at Melrose. Okay. Timeline for the annual plan.
I was not able to get that done in time for the meeting, but I will send it to you this week.
Okay, good enough. Now we're on vacancy report, and with people moving in and out for reasons they would rather not talking about. I'm not really sure where we're at out there. So on our blue, in our agendas here, on the blue pages, still looks pretty good though.
Well, what is not on here? What is not, what are you laughing
She's just a very jolly person.
at?
Just a very jolly person.
Busted.
What is not on here are the units at Melrose that are offline for repair because of the flooding. They are not in here because at this time, we do not have to actually report them yet as units offline because the residents of those units are still participants in public housing. So until it's sort of a two-step, you have to have the vacant unit and you also have the tenant who either has to leave participation in the program or transfer to another unit. So it was quite a perplexing problem that I presented to HUD, which was we have these units that are under repair, but all those residents still are in public housing. They're still in the public housing program. So HUD said, well, because they have not stopped participating in public housing, don't bother counting the units. And I said, okay. So that's why this does not reflect
Oh, I
any
see. Yeah.
vacancies other than the one apartment where the tenant has actually moved away.
Does anybody have any questions on the vacancy report as it stands thus far? No? Okay. Very good. Financial review, operating subsidy appeal.
You want me to talk?
I do.
Okay, well, HUD changed their timeline for applying for our operating subsidy once again, and our 2012 operating subsidy submission is due October 31st. The administration proposed in their budget to Congress to consider $1 billion of housing authority reserves as excess reserves and reduce the operating subsidy appropriation by that amount, which so of course there are now two calculations, one for the House, one for the Senate, which take into account housing authority reserves as reported on at the end of the last fiscal year. And they do a calculation, and HUD estimates how it's going to be prorated across the country. They give us 4 months of operating expenses as a reserve that we get to keep, and then above that they consider excess. And then they say that some, I don't know, 60% of that is what they're going to take, which would reduce our operating subsidy for next year by, I think, what was it, $400,000?
Well, it's something between 40 and 60%.
Yeah, but it would be significant.
Which is
So
significant.
we have spent more than that already on flood repairs. We don't know how much we will get from insurance. We don't know how much, if anything, we will get from FEMA. We don't know how much more we're going to spend. So we're going to appeal to HUD and say, we have unique circumstances. We were devastated by Tropical Storm Irene, and these are our costs, and we don't know what's going to happen next, and so please don't take our reserves.
Because we have bills to pay, and if you take our reserves, we don't have cash with which to pay bills.
Yeah,
So it is a unique problem.
it really is
um,
unique. And to give them credit for once, they promulgated a appeals process and said these are the reasons, and at the end is other unique circumstances. That's us. Bingo. So we will be doing that by next Monday also.
It's a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
When did they reschedule from?
Oh, well, our
Oh,
subsidy
gosh.
for 2011 we did in June.
Yeah, yeah,
So you just
Right.
never know.
yeah, we used to, I mean, we used to figure it before the end of our fiscal year as part of our budgeting. And then, before Mary arrived, we had a year where, we did it in June. And I think it just has been like June since then. And,
One year it was March or April.
yeah, and it just sort of goes all over the place. Now it's October, and we have a fiscal year that ends,
Well,
When did they
Yeah.
let you know it was October?
September.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're committed to assuming that Congress completes a budget bill, the HUD is committed to telling housing authorities what we'll get for subsidy next year by the middle of December, which is remarkable.
Yeah,
So,
it's all done.
that could be a little aggressive too, considering what's going on in Washington.
yeah, well,
Well, yeah.
there may not be a budget bill,
Right.
That's true.
so that's where that is.
Okay, well, moving right along here. We got, on your green sheets here, these are our payables.
I think you just need to show them the monthly checklist.
Yes, you can see that is increased by the number of checks that we're signing. You can tell.
Well, you'll notice there was a big one to ServPro, there was a big one to our contractor at Melrose,
A couple of big ones.
a couple of big ones to ServPro, and so, yeah. There were, they clean out the muck,
Okay, they don't go to work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Our check signing for October with Janet. November, do we have a,
I will volunteer for November, but I don't know if I'll be available for the whole month. That's the only.
Janet said-
that.
Janet would like to do them on the 4th and the 18th to make up for whoever covered for her in October.
Okay, didn't have to do that. Yeah, I'll do November, but I may have to change that, but I'll work that out with Jeannie with the time.
right, and then if that ever comes up, I'm just up the street, I'll be happy to scoot in and take that particular week.
And
So,
can we
Chris-
talk December too, even though it didn't make it to the agenda? Just. Marshall.
December?
Oh, good, well, we like to see Marshall in December anyway.
I never thought of that.
What did you bring, cookies or bring?
He brings
Truffles.
Truffles?
He brings truffles.
Well, we're not gonna make those this year.
Okay, well then we'll take Tom.
I'll bring popcorn.
From Sam's. Oh, Tom.
Well, that takes care of pretty much of our agenda for this meeting, and I'd like to go into executive session.
Okay, I'll move we enter executive session to discuss matters relative to contracts and personnel.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thanks.
Bye-bye now.
Have a good night, guys. Yeah.